Hello everybody, this is Terry from River Hills Harvest, and we're here in central Missouri. It's a beautiful sunny day, and I thought I might show you a little bit about how we prune our elderberries. This is some beautiful Pocahontas berries here in our beds, and these are 1 year old shoots that have coming up. We pruned them all to the ground last year, and there's some nice big ones. You can see there's quite a few of them in here. So we're going to start looking at these and cutting them down. Now you can see this is a nice one. We get all the way down here to the ground, and we're going to try to cut these off right at the ground because we want these to spread all over the bed more and have more shoots coming up. So when we cut all the way on the ground, that causes the roots to send up the shoots and spread out over your whole bed. So we take these all out. We want to cut all the little ones, the big ones, everything. Get them all down here, right to the ground. That one's a little bit hard. There we go. And so that will cause this plant, now you can see just the little stumps in there, and that's going to spread out and it'll send up more shoots. If I send up twice as many shoots now from the ground, and it'll be well attached to coming up from the roots. They have more resistance to the wind because they're better attached to the ground instead of being up higher. But if you have like a different way you can prune them is if you're trying to make like a little stump. If you have landscape fabric over your beds, sometimes with a little smaller hole, then you want to cut them a little bit higher. So if you cut them so that you have 2 buds left showing, it's going to send its branches and shoots up from those 2 buds mostly. It may make some more small ones, but mostly it'll start to develop that original cane that was coming up there. So then you would cut it down here a little lower, and you have 2 buds left there for it to send up new shoots. Further north, sometimes it's more important to have that, especially up in the far north, because they will come out of those buds a little faster. So that's the 2 main ways that we do for total copacing and pruning. If you're going to selectively prune, you would just cut out all the old canes or any diseased ones. Here's one that's dead. We cut that out, get it out of the field. We wouldn't use that for propagations. So let's look at a couple of these sticks, and I'll show you how we're going to cut these up into usable cuttings. If you look down the elderberry, it's opposite budded. There are 2 buds here, then there's a nice piece of cane, and 2 buds here, and you can see where they come out. So we like to do 2 bud cuttings mostly, and so we will cut it about 1.5 inches or so below the bottom buds. We put in a 45-degree cut. We angle that bottom so we'll know that it's always the bottom. Then we check to look at the pith. We want to make sure that it's nice and white, that it doesn't have any black or really dark brown around the pith, because that can be a sign of viruses or disease. So if we see that, then we don't use that for a propagation. Then we cut about 1.5 inches above the top set of buds, a straight cut. So then we have a really nice elderberry cutting here, ready to go. The pointed end goes into the ground, 2 opposite buds. Then we usually like to bring the soil up about 2 to 3 inches above those bottom buds. You want to stick it down in the soil that far so it'll be sticking up like that when we get done. The next thing we want to do on the elderberry cuttings after we make them is to sanitize them and treat them with dormant oil. We sanitize them many different ways, but we have, around the farm here, we use ozonated water. We really like that to sanitize, but if you're at home, you can just use regular strength hydrogen peroxide. You dip it in that, then you dip the cuttings into some vinegar, apple cider vinegar, and then the third thing you dip them in is the dormant oil. And so now we have some nice cuttings. So what we'd probably do, then we would dunk these the 3 times to make in the cuttings, and then we'll put them into a bag. We have one over here ready to go. We put them into a little bag, and this is the way you'll receive a lot of your cuttings from River Hills when you get them. There'll be a little bit of damp moss in the bottom. That just helps us keep them nice and healthy. Sphagnum moss, long grain. We put them in that, and these cuttings will last in the refrigerator for months and months. So if you get your cuttings and you're not ready to put them in the ground, you want to just put them in the refrigerator and keep them in there, because you could plant these in June and they'd still be viable and you could grow plants out of them. Have a good day, and we'll see you later.